I, 39 female, recently got divorced. It was my fault. I had a one-night stand with a colleague, and he fell in love. And when I didn't want to follow him, he sent evidence of our love to my then husband, John, 45 male. I know I was wrong for the cheating. That's not my question. All things considered, the divorce proceedings were relatively amicable. I wanted to stay in our home, where I raised our son, David, nearly adult male, and we found a way to make that possible. Soon after the divorce, my father, 76, was diagnosed with cancer. He always wanted to go on a cruise with the whole family and is planning the big voyage for the next holidays, treatments permitting. But that time was meant to be for John to see David, so I need John's okay. I brought it up with him, and he understood my father's diagnosis changed things, but he didn't agree immediately. He wanted to talk to David first. That talk hasn't happened yet. Meanwhile, school tuition comes due. We send David to an expensive private school. John has an impressive income and is happy to pay for David's education. But prior to our divorce, we were helping my sister, 43, who's not as wealthy, by paying to send her two boys, teen and young teen, to the same school. Susan gets the bill and sends it to John. He laughed and responded that since they're not family anymore, it wasn't his problem. Susan thinks it isn't fair for her children to have to switch schools, since they both already been going there, have friends there, and would have to go to a lesser quality school. Susan and her family have been relying on him, and it's cruel of John to cut them off. My parents think it's my responsibility because the divorce was my fault. They suggest I sell the house and come live with them. They've even found someone who would buy it, my cousin. I don't want to do this, primarily because of my parents smoking, but also, it's not as straightforward as they make it sound. In the divorce, we set up the deed to transfer the property to David after I die. John wanted to ensure that if I were to remarry, it wouldn't end up with my hypothetical stepchildren. John thinks it's nothing to do with him anymore, and if there's money for a cruise, then it's time for the rest of the family to step up and get them through this transition. In any case, though, I don't really want to push back on him because he hasn't technically agreed to let David go on the holiday, and I want to make sure my father's possible last wish is good. I feel guilty about this situation. I don't see a happy way of getting the money together, but I also agree that it is unfair that my nephews will likely have to move schools due to no fault of their own. I wish I could help, but I'm not the wealthy auntie that I was a year ago. I'm by no means living in poverty, but I don't have that kind of spare money either. So, am I the idiot for not selling the house to pay my nephew's tuition? You can just give up your home so my kids can go to one school over another. LOL, there's a cousin who can afford to buy the house. The entire family's going on a cruise, but the man who was cheated on and isn't actually family, and the newly single mother with the teen are the ones who should pony up? Tell Sister Dear to get a second job, and if the rest of the family is this concerned, then everyone can chip in, including you since you feel bad about it. It would be frankly disgusting to insist that your ex pays for your sister's kids. Agree. Why can't your parents sell their house, move in with you, and use the money for your nephews then? You are not the idiot for the question you asked. We're not here to judge your cheating, but you know who is an idiot: your family. John is no longer paying the tuition, and I can't blame him. The rest of the family should step up and help if they still want these two kids to attend that school. No, you don't have to sell your house to your cousin and go live with your parents so you can pay for these kids' school. What the heck? And your ex-husband is right. Your nephew's tuition bills aren't his problem anymore, as he's no longer part of your family. It seems clear that they just saw him as a bank account. But wow, if you didn't start a cascade of crap with your little fling. Honestly, OP, I have a hard time believing that your nearly adult son can't put his foot down and insist to your ex, his dad, that he will be going on the family cruise with his dying grandpa. even if it is dad's custody time, if he wanted to. I have no idea what your relationship with your son currently is, but your husband waffling on the kid going on the cruise, maybe your husband's offering to take the heat for your kid, not wanting to go. I, 27 female, got engaged to my fiancé, 34 male, right before the global issue, and due to that, have experienced delay after delay. But finally, we've begun planning and are aiming at a spring wedding next year. My mother asked me if I could include my sister-in-law in my bridal party because after marrying, my brother moved several states away and has expressed feeling isolated without family around. I could understand, so I agreed. But my sister-in-law has been nothing short of a nightmare. My bridesmaid all assisted in handwriting and sending out our wedding invitations, but the ones my sister-in-law helped with had zero invitation inside and instead was an empty envelope. I know they were hers because everyone had different shades of pink envelopes to go from. She also took the longest at our makeup and hair consultations, even extending her appointment to an hour, to which I was charged. I am covering her expenses as she's a stay-at-home mom, and I know things are tight right now because she couldn't agree with the stylist on what makeup she wanted. But the final straw came when I found the dress of my dreams. The only problem was I was 15 pounds too heavy for it, and I bawled my eyes out because I knew this was the dress for me. Everyone was encouraging, and I still had plenty of time to lose 15 pounds and come back for a fitting, etc. So I agreed and said yes to the dress. When I got home that night, I noticed on my sister-in-law's Instagram that she had posted a picture to her Instagram of me in the dress, ugly and crying, and I was livid. My fiance's already seen the Instagram picture, and I'm devastated. He wasn't supposed to see me in my dress until our wedding day, and I know many more people have seen it. I couldn't help myself. I called her and exploded, adding that she would not be in my bridal party and that she had ruined my wedding. My mother has called me and told me that even though she understands, I lacked compassion and have severely hurt my sister-in-law's feelings. She asked if I could find it in my heart to forgive, but I told her, even if I did that, I still wouldn't include her in my party. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot at all. I'm dying to know her excuse for posting a photo of the bride in her dress crying on her social media. Equally excited to hear why your mother's defending your sister-in-law. Bounce from the party was kind. I'd have been tempted to bounce her from the wedding. Why does the sister-in-law hate OP so much? Like, this is clearly deliberate at this point. There's no way it's all a coincidence. Leaving out the invites and all the envelopes. No, that alone doesn't make any sense. But then posting a photo of her in her dress, while it doesn't fit her, as she's ugly crying? OP, cut ties with the sister-in-law and do not let her attend your wedding. She will find a way to ruin the event if she can. Also, consider disinviting your mother if she keeps taking sister-in-law's side. Something is very wrong here, and I'm not sure I trust your mother at this point. Totally agree. Mom is out of line with the whole keep the peace BS. The level of backstabbing from sister-in-law is worse than actual factual backstabbing. This is a continuous and repeated attempt to diminish, demean, and sabotage OP's wedding. Sister-in-law's behavior is psychotic and mean. If everyone doesn't shut it down, it'll only get worse. People like this don't know how to moderate their craziness. They do this to get this very reaction and then play the victim. Stand firm and keep her away from your wedding. It sounds like your mom might be more concerned about maintaining her relationship with her baby boy, who moved away, than what's best for you. Or really her son. Who would truly want their son married to such an idiot? You're not the idiot. There's something wrong with your sister-in-law and anyone who supports her, including your mom. I'm so sorry your sister-in-law is such a raging witch that your mom supports her instead of you. I hope you can find a dress of your dreams or fit into the current one and move past the bullying. Report her account to the social media site as cyberbullying and have it removed. Update. My brother reached out to me to apologize on my sister-in-law's behalf. He stated that she posted it, thinking the app had a feature where she could post privately. I've never seen this on Instagram or knew it was possible, but when I asked why the picture was taken in the first place, he just said he wanted to capture the start of my fitting into the dress journey. I told my brother that she's not getting back into my bridal party, which he understood, but when I mentioned she couldn't attend my wedding, he stated that if that were the case, he couldn't come either. However, my fiance wants her out of the wedding entirely. My brother was my mom's miracle baby, and because of this, she's always doted on him. But ever since my sister-in-law came, it's gotten worse because she's given my mom what I never will be able to, grandkids. Because of this, my mom and sister-in-law have grown very close and are able to bond in ways that my mom and I can't. This may be why my mother's so hasty to defend her. I, 35 female, have 2 children, a male kindergartner and a female toddler, and an infant, 16 weeks. My first 2 pregnancies have gone quite smoothly, with a few bumps on the way, but not many problems. My 3rd pregnancy was tough, as I got diagnosed with preeclampsia, put on bed rest for 6 weeks, and had an emergency C-section, during which I and the baby almost died. I stayed in the hospital for over 2 weeks before being deemed healthy enough to be released. My husband has been beside me in the delivery room all 3 times and does most of the chores and takes care of the kids while I recover and makes sure I have everything I need. We've saved more than enough money from both our jobs to have the ability to stay home for as long as needed. My best friend, we'll call her Ashley, 36, female, has been my BFF since elementary school. We've never missed each other's birthdays, no matter what was going on in our lives or how far apart we were. She's also aware of my troubles. Yesterday was her 36th birthday. In the morning, I was feeling below par, and I was too tired to get out of bed, so my husband took care of all the kids and helped me shower like he did 100 times before during my pregnancy and postpartum. When it was around 2 p.m., I was feeling a little better, but I was still worn out, so I called Ashley. Her birthday party was scheduled at 3 p.m., and I was supposed to arrive at 2:30 p.m. I waited until 2 p.m. because I knew how important her birthday was, and I was hoping that I would feel good enough to come over. I told her that, "I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I won't be able to come to your birthday party because I'm not feeling well." She asked what was wrong, and I told her that I was exhausted and there was no way I could be at her party. I literally heard her sigh angrily, and she said, "But what about our promise?" I broke my arm while racing and still traveled 1,000 miles for your birthday, but you can't drive 20 miles to see me? If your fat butt can reach the grocery store, then you could come here if you actually cared. That's when I became mad and told her, "Well, if you had kids, then you would understand." And that's when she said, "Screw you," and hung up. That was only part of the conversation. You might think, what's so bad about saying if you had kids? Ashley can't get pregnant due to an incident that happened during our younger college days, and the topic is very sensitive for her. So my saying that was extremely vile. This morning I woke up feeling much better, and I attempted to contact Ashley to apologize, but she wouldn't pick up and ignored all my text messages. My husband said that I shouldn't apologize because if she was a real friend, she would have shown concern and worry instead of anger and the attitude of a brat. So she deserved my comeback. But I feel so guilty for bringing up her inability to have kids. I feel like such an idiot for doing so. Am I the idiot? Gonna say you are the idiot. She said something unpleasant, but you bailed last minute and then said something unforgivably mean. If I were her, I'd block you and never look back. You sound really mean, especially if it's a sensitive topic too. We trust our friends to not ever say evil things about things that hurt us. Just because you popped out 3 kids doesn't mean you're better than her. Right? She also says 16 weeks. Ma'am, your baby's a few months old. Like, I get it's important to say weeks in clinical settings for development purposes, but here, OP's just trying to make it seem like her baby's much younger. Also, who uses infertility as an insult? You throwing her infertility in her face was an idiot move. I don't care how tired or unwell you were. You don't do that. I hope your friend finds a better bestie. It's a stupid friends pact that made no accommodations for adult life situations, especially 36th. It's not as big as 30 or 40. Although, if you were still having problems getting out of bed or showering on your own 4 months postpartum, I hope you're under a doctor's care. You waited until the last minute to tell her you weren't coming. You should have warned her days or weeks ago if you've been consistently this weak. Her comment was unkind, but your comment was downright cruel. I have 2 children, 33 female and 40 male. They do not get along and have not spoken in several years. Not getting into it, but a lot of it has to do with my daughter-in-law, son's wife. My husband passed away a few years ago. I sold the big house and decided to purchase a townhouse in the same gated community as my daughter. I like having her and her husband close by, so I know I'm not alone. The gated community comes with a beautiful pool that my daughter and her husband use all the time. The problem started last weekend when my son asked to bring his wife and kids to the pool for the day on Saturday. I said, of course. I called my daughter and informed her that my son and family would be at the pool. She was upset and said she and her family intended to use the pool all weekend, and can we please tell her son no? I told her that was ridiculous. If she wanted to use the pool, she could just ignore them. She threw a fit, saying because of the pool hours, they could only use it on the weekends. She'd been looking forward to swimming all week. She also claimed that this was her home. I was taking away her safe space by having him here. She said she pays a lot to live here and now can't use the amenities. I reminded her that I pay the same amount to live here as she does, and I want my grandbabies to enjoy the pool. She ended the call by saying that she was here first, and I just had to follow her, which hurt. I took my son and his family to the pool on Saturday. My daughter never showed up. I haven't heard from her all week, and my son again asked to bring his family to the pool this weekend, and I agreed. I sent her a text letting her know again, and she sent me one back, telling me not to worry. She won't be going to the pool anymore this season. I think she's being a complete brat. This is my home. I pay just as much to live here. I should be able to use the amenities as I please. Edit. My daughter turned down being a bridesmaid, and everything escalated from there. It ended with my daughter-in-law, as my daughter claims, trying to kick my daughter out of the family. Daughter-in-law said many untrue things to other family members about her. A lot of family doesn't talk to my son and daughter-in-law, so obviously, if those were daughter-in-law's intentions, they didn't work. So my daughter needs to get over it. You are the idiot. Completely. You moved there to be close to your daughter, but allow her bully to come over as they please? Mom of the year right here. I don't care if they're adults, and you think your daughter should get over it. The fact that other members of your family don't talk to your son and his family should be evidence enough of who's in the wrong. Why don't you move closer to your favorite child? OP, the key information is that you both pay to live there and use the amenities when your son and his family do not. Truthfully, I don't like outsiders even coming in because they crowd the space that renters pay for. If he wants a pool, there are plenty of public pools around. You meet him at one of those. If someone is uncomfortable in their own space, you should respect that and not allow him the ability to change that. She has every right to be angry with you. Also, she lived there first and created a home out of it, and you came in and stole that away from her. Tell your darling son, who also failed to rein in his wife's vicious behavior, that you can't continue giving them weekends. He doesn't pay for any of the amenities and is certainly not entitled to them. Then apologize to your daughter for not handling this situation correctly. Otherwise, move closer to your son and completely abandon your daughter. I'll bet your son and his wife are not the ones you can count on to consider your needs.